We have all four of the experts up here, and it's your turn to ask questions. And we have a roaming mic over here, and her name is Leanna. So just raise your hand, and we'll start taking questions for any of them.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank you so much for the drawer. That is going to be so helpful to me going home to put that together. But with that, Phyllis, of the things, I'm so sorry for both of your losses. With your experience and looking at that drawer, would there be any other wisdom that you would add to help prepare us, or something to think about since you have had to do that walk?
Well, I thought that Mary did such a great job in thinking even about the personal things that need to be in that drawer. The memories, if there are memories that you want to hold for your family, that you put those in the drawer too. Special things that you would want your children to remember about you. Special things that you want them to know that you remembered about them. I had one of my grandsons tell me the other day, you know, I love how you make me feel special. And so I think even in death, after we're long gone, that they can look back and say, oh, I was special to her. I was special to this person in my life. So whatever you can do to add to that, and I think I've written letters to my children, all of them, to my grandchildren. I think that that is an important thing to do, and that will describe the relationship that you had with them, but also give them this uniqueness for the rest of their life. I think that's real legacy.
I just wanted to know how you came up with the house thing with the, you know, all the little things. Who decided where to put what?
Well, that was me. We try to make this collaborative and all the kids speaking into it, but they could only go so far. And so, so we did ask the two oldest kids to pick the best phrases, but then I was looking at this jumble and just trying to figure out how to get it through to kids in a symbolic way that would communicate. So that's all I was just trying to do, was just take these agreed to principles and communicate them in a way. You know, that safety, house of safety and peace, turned out to be one of the key things that our kids, when they were affirming us for doing this mission statement, and they made that beautiful painting for us. Fortunately, we've got out of the 5 kids, 4 of them are artists. Who knew with us 2 business degrees? But they made us this house, and then they wrote us affirmations about how we did as parents at communicating the mission statement. Talk about a tear-jerking Christmas. They will never be able to surpass that Christmas for that gift. That was amazing. And so many of them referred to this notion of peace and safety, that for them that was a really big deal, and this protection that they always felt in our home, this acceptance, watching us bring back our wayward son, who was welcomed like we. Anyway, I could go on, but anyway, that was really key to them.
So it's different for every family.
Yes, we've given you this house image in the inside of your pamphlet, and a series of a collection of questions at the back to ask yourselves or to ask with your families. And we encourage you to put in what you want your foundation of your home to be, and what are some of the character qualities that are important to you. I mean, we picked 8. I wrote on a completely different 8 in my books, and those aren't, inspired by God, but they are all inspired by what you see as a collection in Scripture. So,
I don't know if any of you noticed that the characteristics on the windows spell out Fort Rest. If you look at Shelley's thing, it's beautiful.
Come up and look at mine
when you
up
get a
close,
chance.
and you can see the actual one that I did back in 1997 before we had fancy word processing.
How about another question? Down here?
This would be for Mary.
Wait for the mic.
Yeah, I'm actually going to speak to my father tomorrow about some end-of-life things. And I wondered, does a will hold up in court if it's just handwritten without a witness, or does it need a witness? Or he keeps saying things that he doesn't have in his will, and I didn't know if we had to officially do it or.
Well, and since I'm a CPA, and I'm a tax professional and not an attorney, I would suggest that you go and talk to an attorney about this, because these are all legal questions. I'm not trying to escape it. It's just that, I'm very careful about giving any type of legal advice. So, if any of you are looking for an attorney, I have several I can refer you to. Stop by and I will give you one of my business cards. You can email me and I will send you a list. Okay. And they're all Christian attorneys. Thank you.
My question, I think, is also for you, Mary, but my husband is a CPA and a financial planner, and I've been asking him for these things for the last couple of years. I want this in one place. I'm sure this is not a unique problem, but how much of this can I do on my own, or do we really need to get, there's just life. Everything is busy, busy, busy. So how do you get them on the
I
same
would suggest
page?
that you use the legacy planner that Biola is providing, for $15, because that will really help you as a template to get started. Because sometimes it's so hard to get started. Where do I go? I have this list. But if you have that, there are a lot of questions in there that you can answer and get started, and then you can get your spouse involved on certain things. But I think once you get it started, if you start filling out those questions, it'll start to roll into place.
That's a good idea.
Okay, anybody else? It's for the film.
I'm sure I read in here, and I can't find it again, that it caused me to question. It said, into the second or third generation, our legacies seem not to carry over. What do you remember where it is here? It was a high percentage by the third generation that they were no longer being carried forward. And I thought, is that just monetary? Is it our values? And why?
All right, good question. Yeah, I believe it's on the first page. Is it on the first page? A data point, and I didn't bring my notes up here, and I could tell you what book it was from and who did the research. But what they said was the main reason why the legacy plans that are put in place end up failing is because they were done without including the family's values. They were done without capturing the vision that the generations had for the family. And so that just reinforces that piece of knowing your values, having that conversation, and then bridging the gap with the financial advisors. I think some changes are afoot in the advisory community where more are moving towards values-based planning like Ronald Blue and Company does. I think a big part of it as well has been because so much planning has happened without the voice of a woman, without the voice of the wife of the family or the daughters of the family. And we really bring to the table that values discussion. So the reason the estate plans fail is by and large because it was done without a lack of family values planning.
My question is for Pam. Okay. You mentioned family limited partnerships and that it would be to transfer real estate out of our estate while still retaining control, reducing the estate taxes because now it's no longer in our name. What is the difference between just an LLC and a family limited partnership? Why not just put it into another LLC?
And that's another legal question. I mean, I've given you like a framework of information, but all of the detail, because so much of this are legal questions that you're asking, that I'll be happy to give you referrals, but I don't know the answer to that.
Anybody else over here?
Hi. I represent part of the younger generation, and I'm just curious. Many of you have been married at some point, I believe, and have obviously had a lot more years of experience than I've had with all of this. And I'd be curious to know looking back, what you might have done differently, or what your recommendations would be as far as starting conversations with, with husbands as you're getting ready to enter into marriage and eventually start a family. What things would you guys have done differently looking back?
That is a great question. Who wants to tackle that one first?
Wow.
Go, you go.
Go, you go.
Well, I was, what a great question. Thank you for asking that. What would we do differently? I think what our discussion today, understanding who we are in Christ, is huge. And as women, that we understand that God has great purpose for us. He has great mission for us. And so I didn't come to that right away in my life. You know, I had to go through some teenage years and some other routes. Not, even though all those scriptures were in my heart, I still searched for what was God's purpose for me. And so I think when we find God's purpose for us and then connect with someone else who knows God's purpose for them, him, then we have this wonderful opportunity to really be on great mission together. And so I think having those conversations early, making sure that your values align is always the best thing to do, that you truly are coming together to do God's purposes. And so I think that I did that, in my marriages, that those were true. But I think I'd probably even focus on it even more if I could go back. And making sure that we had those conversations and that there was real alignment, not just in the great love we had for each other, but also in the values and purposes of our lives, so that I could live into my purpose and he could live into his even greater, and that I would be helpful in doing that for him. So I think that.
Shelley or Mary or Pam, would you have done anything different, or looking back?
I've been
at
so
that
guilty
stage?
this whole time because I haven't done any of this stuff, so.
You've been busy
I'm just
doing
sinking
mission
down into my
statement.
chair. Going, ugh. Yeah, so don't ask me. I would do everything different.
That's an easy answer.
I will just add a little piece here. Our daughters are college age, and it's been interesting to me to watch them begin to walk this out. It's interesting that I go out, often teach, and then there I see, in a microcosm, our own daughters. And so what I've seen with them that they're doing right that I wish I would have done is really pressing into their particular calling. Not running away from life tragedies. We had a death of our 8-year-old niece 2 years ago, and instead of running from the tragedy or soaking ourselves into things that aren't good for us because of a tragedy, our youngest really pressed in to the hardship and there found her calling. And then she's been in the process of testing that calling out. So volunteering, working with nonprofits in the area of that calling. And then those 5 money principles that Mary taught on, Grace is seeking to live those out and managing her own little budget. And, we give her a little bit of money, but she's working and managing all that. So I would press into the 5 principles of managing money and really work out our calling. It's never too early to start with that.
I was thinking about what Phyllis had said about the writing love letters or letters to your children. I came up on a big birthday a little bit ago.
30.
30. Mm-hmm. And so the big 50 hit me smack dab. And I thought, what a great opportunity to tell her. She doesn't know I did this, but I wrote a letter of my memories from her from birth till now. She's 15, and just tucked that away in my estate plan for her. So that was just that. When I'm going to try and do that. You were saying to do that every year or something. I wish I was that good, but I'm thinking, well, maybe every 5 years I could write another letter and update her on what's happened in life and the changes I've seen. So that's just a little something I've done.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.